So I implore you, talk to your friends, talk to your family about political topics like abortion, human rights, language, healthcare, trans rights, education, all these things. I've seen a lot in my comments that people have been saying that not to mention things like abortion or human rights or anything like that because they are not political issues. But they are. And I think this is the problem, is that people don't know what is political and what's not anymore. If there's a policy written on it, it's political. It's in the political realm. So politics, I've written down the actual meaning of politics, and it means activities associated with the governance of a country or area. Now, things like abortion, language, healthcare, trans rights, education are all political, because there are policies written on these things. Therefore, it has to go to Parliament to be debated in order for it to be brought out into the public sphere. So it is political. And I think the problem is with people is that if it's a hard topic to confront or to have a conversation about, they automatically shut it down and say it's not political. We can't even talk about it. But being political means you have to have these conversations. You have to have a conversation about things that are really difficult to talk about, that affect people's lives personally. You have to bring that into your conversations. Otherwise, we're not going to get on top of any policies. We're not going to change the system. So say now with the abortion stuff, which I completely disagree with all abortion, any week, I don't agree with it. So in order to be able to change that policy, you have to bring it to the political system. This is why people, when they do petitions, if it reaches 100,000 signatures, the politicians have to debate about it to bring a policy about for it. So you have to understand that almost everything in society is political. And I know as much as people don't want to address them, don't want to address these really difficult topics, especially churches, don't want to address abortion, don't want to address trans rights. And this is why I've got utmost respect for the Catholic Church, who are coming out and setting the record straight of belief in the truth, the word of God, because they're addressing the hard things. And this is what I'm trying to do, and I get a lot of backlash for, is because I do address things like the Welsh language and get backlash for it. Why? Because it's a difficult topic. It's a very divisive topic. But just because it's divisive doesn't mean that you don't address it. We have to address these things. That's what being political is about. Matthew?
Yeah, so we need people to stand up for what we, as Christians, we know is right and what the Bible says, because people affect policies, policies affect culture. So it's downstream, isn't it? So, it's important to stand up for what we know is right. It's important to stand up for godly values, because it does affect change.
It does, and it affects generations to come. I don't want my kids living, they're grown now, but my grandchildren living in a world that is destructive, where they are the only white people in their town, where there is no churches open, but there's tons of mosques. I don't want my kids growing up, my grandkids growing up confused about their gender, because the schools and the scientists are no longer willing to acknowledge that there's a man and a woman. I mean, these are basic principles within our society that we do need to talk about, because what world do you want your grandkids living in? What world do you want your children living in? And I actually know people who are refusing to have children because they think society is so broke that they don't want to bring up children in that society. And my heart goes out, because that is the worst thing to do. We need people to have children to change society, right? Because I think when you have children, things change in you, and you want to better your life, the things around you, your friends' lives, society, community. And so I think there's a purpose to it, and we are lacking that purpose right now, and people are deciding not to have families, not to get married, not to have children, all this type of stuff. And I think that's having a detrimental effect on our communities and our society. So I think we need to really face the hard topics, have a conversation with your friends, see what they believe, and hear the hard things. There's one thing that we do in our church community is debate the real hard topics. We're not all going to agree, but one thing we will do is continue to be friends in our disagreement and come to some sort of, what do you call it, Matthew?
Acceptance, just, agreement that just to move on together as friends, knowing that we've got more in common.
Yes.
Ultimately, the biggest thing we've got in common rather than the smaller things that we don't.
Right, and we want to sometimes focus on the details rather than the overarching themes. So I implore you, talk to your friends, talk to your family about political topics like abortion, human rights, language, healthcare, trans rights, education, all these things. Talk to people and see what they think about them. So don't look to the left, don't look to the right, look up Britain.